This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, I have a beautiful Toronto background behind me celebrating, well, post-Christmas going into New Year's here on December the 27th, 2025, getting close to the end of that year. And it's been a rough one, but I've had great time here on Python's Paradise, and we have a return guest today. Yes, you know, post Christmas, but we're going to celebrate anyway. Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. Here's the Blu-ray right here. Look at this character here in the back. You know, he celebrates Christmas Day and Garbage Day both. And speaking of Garbage Day, well, I could think of some political situations that belong in the trash, but we won't get into that. But folks, I had him on last year, had a great chat with him. I'm happy to have him on this year because we both are cat lovers. Folks, I give you Ricky himself, Eric Freeman. How do you do, Eric?
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, pleasure, man. I we had a great time last time, and this time I'm sure it'll be good. So, thank you for having me on.
Oh yeah.
Happy has been, Greg.
Yeah, yeah, and look what else I got here. Look at that. I dug up my chiller folder.
It's
This is
funny the background's making that just the head showing up. It's beautiful.
yeah, yeah. Says to Greg, it's garbage day. Eric Freeman, Ricky. Yeah, my background doesn't help, but it's kind of like, yeah, but my apartment's a mess. So, I kind of want to have a nice background behind me. Skittles will not clean my apartment up. So, it's all around a mess. I can't
Well,
get
anyway,
Skittles to clean it up.
yeah, no, I need my cat to clean my mess up.
Yeah,
Um,
you can't get your cat trained in that method either, huh?
oh no, she's sassy, a
Oh
little
yeah.
sassy. So
Well, that is the way of the cat, they come in and they eat, they sleep, and they go in the litter box. Well, thankfully mine goes in the litter box. Here, here, kitty, come here. Come here, come over. Walking away. I'm not gonna let him do that. Come
nope,
here,
gotta be
Skittles.
part of the show.
Here, Skittles. You know what, Skittles? When my guests want to see you, and I know it's all of them, we can't disappoint them. Look at Skittles.
Very nice. He's cute.
Skittles says, "Does he have treats?" You know what? He has a kitty. He has two kitties. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're used to dog lovers being on here, right? Skittles gets offended when it's dog lovers. Yes. Skittles woke me up several times when I was sleeping. Did your cats climb up on you while you're asleep?
Yeah, or I've got I give her part of the bed, but she always goes over the DMZ. And I go, you got this half. So but she does what she wants in the middle of the night. All of a sudden I wonder why I'm stuck, like I can't move. And it's the cat. And she's like perched on top of me or something, sleeping. Um, but yeah, that's kind of nice. I mean, they're they're cool. They've got a lot of personality. So
Mine tries to be, he's got that old hunting primal thing behind them because I tell you, I could sense while I was asleep, while stirring awake, the Skittles wanted to get on the bed, and I was like, I feel some kind of shift there. He didn't jump on the bed. He climbed up. He's trying to be nefarious. He's trying to be sneaky. And sure enough, I knew he was coming around. He'll climb right up on my thigh. He'll walk up my belly, up my chest, and he will purr right in my face. Does yours do that?
Yeah, as close as you can get. Just like sleep on your chest, and it's like, but when that happens, you're usually first like stuffed in your mouth. So can't win. I mean, same thing. I'm going to close the door. She actually just came in, but let me be right with you.
There you
What?
go.
She broke in. There we go. There we go. Yeah. No, this is cool. That's just we're showing. She's
Oh,
cute.
look at that. Look at
Yeah.
that. Now, which one's that one?
That's swirly or swirlish, but I just call her squirrels. She's very
Yeah.
cute. I don't know why she's scared. She's very part of the she loves the camera, but I guess she was eating and I bothered her. But yeah, no, I know we're cat guys. I had cats when I was a kid, so
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Snoopy. Snoopy was all gray, white belly, but just a beautiful big furry thing growing up. So I just knew what I knew cats. So
Mm-hmm.
but I love dogs. Damn, it's all cool. All animals. I love, all animals. More animals, less humans is my thing. So,
Yeah.
um,
Well,
so I'm here.
I find it interesting too, because sometimes, Skittles, not a lot, but he did this today. He'll go up around and on top of my pillow just behind my head too. It's like, what are you doing? It's like, what are you doing? You know? And and sometimes in the colder days in winter, he'll want to get under the sheets with me.
Yeah, yeah,
Have
yeah.
you ever had yours try to get under the sheets?
I've had past cats do that. They would tunnel. I call them tunneling. They'd tunnel when I wasn't around, so they'd get all groggy because they're barely breathing air under there. But I was like, I would pull back the blankets or whatever, and they'd be like kind of what's the word, hypoxia or something. They were just like were kind of lightheaded and woozy because they were just tunneled under that bed. But yeah, no, they like doing that when it gets cold in Canada, of course. I mean, you
Hmm.
expect plenty of tunneling. So
Yeah,
yeah,
my cat's done that a few times. I would be asleep on my side and I'd feel something on my face, and it would be when I wake up to my cat's whiskers, and he wants to get under the sheets. So I'd let him go under, and he'd go right down about my waist and curl up, and that's where he'd be. So so there you go. And then when I wake up, he's not there anymore. So I'm like, yeah, he found his way out of there.
hey, had enough. It's like, all right, I need some air.
Yeah. But yeah, I got him some treats for Christmas.
That's cool.
Santa found him, didn't find me. I'm pretty sure I was better behaved than Skittles here.
Not what I hear.
Yeah. Yeah. Did Santa find you or did he find your cats?
No, no, Santa's not stupid enough to find me.
So you're in the same boat I'm in.
Well, no, I mean, I'm Ricky. So, I mean, he'd be a fool. So, I'd have to slay him. So,
There you go.
only, I have to do my job. But, no, geez, I wish Santa found me. I could have used a couple things like a miter saw or whatever. But, nope, nope. Santa kind of, took a sleigh to another, chimney. So, all right, that's all right by me. I They come, they go. Christmases, right? It's just a
Hmm.
marking of time, and um, I like the holidays. I do, but I remember once I told a lady that was really interested in the holidays. I said, "Oh, they're just an interruption of commerce," and she lost her mind. Interruption of commerce. She thought I was like. I said, "Well, look at all the days we lose doing all these holidays and now fake holidays and holidays they're calling holidays but or daylight savings time. I mean, when you add it all up, where there's commerce is being interrupted. So, and I can't get stuff done. Like, oh, it's
Hmm.
closed. Oh, yeah, you give any reason down in LA for any holiday. Holiday could be on a Wednesday. It could be Martin Luther King Day, but then they'll take Thursday and Friday off just because. So, all of a sudden you got 3 days off, and you're like, damn, and can't get anything done. But um, That's the way it is. You give him an inch, he'll take a mile. So
Yeah. So what did you do for Christmas this year?
I was painting. I was painting my place, and I was sanding. Actually, it was sanding. Oh God, sanding. So I was sanding for forever, and but that's I'm trying to get something done, and I like the work I do. I like the quality of the work I do. So a lot of times I don't hire any out, and workers are expensive, and they're not in the quality. The work I don't want to have to watch. I'm either watching them work to make sure they don't f it up, or I'm
Mhm.
doing it. So I just said, let me do it. So um, I'm going to do it all, and it's kind of a restoration, and that's fine. That's fine. So step by
You
step.
you still making guitars? I know you was doing that.
Yeah, in fact, before we came on tonight, I bought a guitar off of a Goodwill. There's an
Okay.
auction, a Goodwill national thing. All
Hmm.
the states have their own guitars. And then they're putting them up on the Goodwill site. So I bought this Stratocaster. It was it's what they call silver burst. It's silver with black around it, black outline. It's a silver burst Stratocaster, and it came up. And I always said, if one comes up, I'm going to be on it. And I was. I planned. I put my bid price really high in order just to get the riffraff out of the way. And so they were all doing their thing. I just waited till like 8 seconds left, and I punched it in, and I knew I got it because there's no way that no one. And with that particular site, it's so slow, and it doesn't tell you the seconds counting down like an eBay would. So they would have to react very quickly. And I shouldn't have given myself 8 seconds. I should have given myself 3 seconds, but it wasn't eBay, and I was unfamiliar with how that worked. But bottom line is I nailed it. I got it. And so, it was only like $132. Normally it would be much more, but because of Christmas, I said, "Oh, this is opportune. This is perfect. This is Christmas. No one has any money. I'm buying it." So I went and bid on it in the last seconds, and no one could do it. No one could get in there and outdo me at that late time. So um, there we are. So yes, guitars. So I'm in no need of guitars, but I've had a Jones for a silver burst Stratocaster, and so yeah, now I'm a owner of one. So and I
Did you
do like. Go
do
ahead.
you have a favorite guitarist like of all time?
A few.
Who do you like?
I mean, I don't know if you know this guy. He wasn't like he had some major hits in the '70s. There's a guy named Robin Trower. Robin Trower. He had his own band, Robin Trower. He was like a three-piece band. He's a lead guitar player, but he had a lot of cool songs in the '70s, and he was big. He sounded like Hendrix. He was
Okay.
he. A lot of people had said back in the day when he was playing in the '70s, he was with a lot of bands before, but they all kind of gave him said, "Well, you're like Hendrix," and but it was almost like a hit on him because Hendrix was still alive, I think, until '69 or something. But I don't know. It still was. He kind of got the rap of being like him, but he just had his own sound with a Stratocaster and a Univibe and a wah wah pedal, and kind of the combination of those. It was just a unique tone. But yeah, many. I like many of these guys. I mean, I like a lot of the Canadian guys. The Guess Who, and uh, um, in and out of my head, the lead singer of the Guess Who, which is from your neck of the woods, and
Hmm.
uh, and just many bands out of the '60s and '70s were so good that someone said, "You got a favorite?" I say no, just many. But no, I always used to go to the record store, and back when there were records and it was vinyl, and I was a kid, I was 10, 11, 12. I'd be going through these used records and looking for Albert King and early ZZ Top, the first album, and Ted Nugent. I like Ted Nugent, his early stuff, Stranglehold and Stormtrooping and all, and I mean, everybody knows Stranglehold. I mean, that song will go down in history. Um, but yeah, I like guitar centered rock bands. I mean, I liked I liked a lot of bands back then, but they had to be good on the guitar. Johnny Winter, Johnny Winter, Johnny Winter. So Johnny Winter was unbelievable. In his day, he was the best. And so I like Johnny Winter. These are probably names that only a few of your listeners would like, wow, yeah. Uh, but I don't like music of today. It's the
I
men are
agree.
wimpy. Men are wimpy, and the women are have got more balls than the guys do. And it's just the men are very emotional in their songs now, and it absolutely just ballless wonders. But I am I don't mind emotion, but you know know who you are, I guess. But yeah, it's just changed a lot. The whole thing's flipped. I mean, where the gals are rocking harder than the boys, so um,
Hmm.
kind of freaky, but um, all the better. You know, if it's a good looking gal playing the guitar, I'm even more intrigued. But um, yeah, so I just liked a lot of the. I didn't like Aerosmith back in the day. I know that's a big name people know. I just
Hmm.
didn't like a lot of their songs. You go down the line, you start looking at this. The Rolling Stones made it big by hijacking and stealing American black man's music and other people's music. They would just steal and reinvent the song or just their own take on it. But a lot of these people, nothing was original. Aerosmith, they had a couple of songs that might have been original, but they were just thieves too. They were just plagiarists, and I just didn't like those guys. I didn't care for uh, just a few number of bands only because it just it was and growing up the radio stations would play if a song was a hit they'd play it to death for the next 20 years and they'd kill it and just like oh god I don't want to hear that song again. I just don't want to hear it again. And but yeah, I do like blues and blues rock a lot. I just
Hmm.
and good guitarists are there's many of them. I mean, there's kids out there at 12 years old that can just shred, and it's like holy Moses. But they've been just playing. They've been playing for a long. They go to the bathroom, bring the guitar. They're everywhere playing the guitar. They don't matter where they go. They're playing the guitar. So you can get good if you just want to devote just play the guitar. So like anything, it doesn't matter. I think George Benson said it best. He said, "How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice." So that's all it takes.
So, how old were you when you gained interest in the guitar? What, like, was it when you were really young, or was it when you were a teenager? What was it that signaled that in you, that interest?
It was early. It was early. It was funny because I lived in Minneapolis, so I know the cold. Canada, I know cold. And I was 14 and I wanted a guitar. My brother had one. He had an SG, a Gibson SG, a really cool one he bought for like 120 bucks. It would be priceless now. But he had this red SG and he wouldn't even let share it. I mean, he was glued to it. So he got real good. Uh, but I wanted a guitar. I saved some bunch of money. I was working at a dumpy hotel cleaning out hotel rooms. And they hired me really young, like I was 13 and a half. I was working. They didn't mind because they didn't care if I was of age or not. So I saved my money. I went downtown Minneapolis from where I lived in Hopkins. I took the bus and I went downtown to a guy that was advertising. He had tons of guitars. And it turned out he was a bass guitarist. He was probably 35. And he played bass with his thumb, his fingers, of course. But his thumb was so big and swollen, it looked like a banana. And I remember like, going, I don't ever want my thumb to look like that. It still sticks in my head. But I went down to his basement and it was a massive basement. It was filled with guitars all the way around the periphery and tons of basses, tons of amps, tons of everything. And he had advertised a Gibson Les Paul, and it was in a hard case. It was 325 bucks, and it was it was is what they call the fretless wonder, but it was black and gold and three humbuckers. It would be worth untold sums today, but it was 325. He threw in a tube amp, a little Alamo tube amp, nice amp. So I had this guitar, 3 1/4, and I was really naive. I could barely play, and uh, and I said, "Why are you selling it to me so cheap?" And he said, "Look around. Do I need any guitars?" And so I said, "No," and I just took the guitar and the little amp, took the bus home, and I played it for about 6 months or so. And then what happened was, um, I had to sell it. I had to sell it. Uh, uh, well, I came home from school. It's not really a sad story because it's a good story because it 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 presented to me life as work your butt off and don't look back and don't expect anything from anybody. That was the moral of the story. Um, I came home from school. It was about 3 days before my birthday, so it was January 18th or something, and it was snowing and it was cold. And I was walking off the bus. It was about a quarter mile to get to the apartment or the townhouse we had. And my mom is outside putting boxes in her big old Chrysler. It's got like a 20-foot Chrysler, 2 door, big old 440 Magnum in the thing, Chrysler. It's just an unbelievably large car. And its car's running, smoke's coming off the tailpipe, and she's stuffing boxes in the car in the back seat. And I say, "Hey, what's going on?" She goes, "I'm leaving." And I said, "Okay, when you coming back?" And she said, "Never. I'm moving to California. The rent's paid to the end of the month." And like that was a deal. It was only like 10 days left of the month. I'm 14. But I bought that guitar. And so she drove away. And and my brother pulled up about 5 minutes later. My mouth must have been on the frozen ground for like 5 minutes. I'm staring off like, what? And my brother pulls up in this ratty Mustang, all rusted, and he said, "Oh, what's going on?" I said, "Mom just left." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Left for good. She just said she's going to California." And he goes, "Wow." And then he stared off in the sky like I did. He said, "Well, it's you and me." And then he walked in the house. And then I thought for a second, Greg, this is funny. I thought for a second in my head, because my brother was older, I thought, "Oh, wow, my brother's going to have my back." No way. So I ended up selling that guitar and renting a tiny little space in someone's basement, far out of the school district. But I hey, things weren't that expensive then. I bought a ratty car for like 75 bucks and I drove every day to school. And so I finished high school that way, or junior high and then high school. And, got various jobs, made jewelry. I did a lot of stuff, but it was a very important lesson. And it sounds bad when I look at it like, wow, how could anybody be that awful as a mother? True, but yet good for me because then it was just like, all right, no one's looking out for you. Go and do it. And so that was so I had that guitar for a short while. I learned how to play it enough to say, hey, this is cool. I wasn't any good, but so years later, when I could afford it and this and that, I started collecting guitars, and it really started to be fixing other people's guitars. And then I got a name for fixing stuff because I was just good at fixing stuff, not just guitars, but I just had a knack for it. So that kind of built into me looking around and then buying Strats anywhere I could, old Japanese ones and old this and old that. And so it was just kind of a love, a passion on the side. It wasn't greasy cars that I was so used to buying and selling. It was something small and clean and I could fix. And, so because there's greasy stuff people get in love with, motors and stuff, and or it's guitars, or it could be collecting World War II memorabilia. It doesn't matter, but so that's where. So later in my life, I got back into the guitar. I think what spurred it, if you want to, if not that the story's boring, and I know it is, but
No,
some
no,
lady,
go for it.
oh, but some lady I knew was would she got it. She was a chronic smoker, and she let herself go. She got an infection in her leg, and she had such poor circulation. And I said to her, her name was Evelyn, and I said, "Ev, you've got to go to the doctor. Please go to the doctor." And she just didn't listen, and she got sepsis, and she she died of it, but she said, if I ever pass, Eric, you can have that. And it was this Gibson mandolin on the wall, old mandolin. She showed me a picture of her when she was a young girl playing in a mandolin band in school. I mean, with all these ladies, like 30 ladies, they all had nice mandolins. I mean, and fancy, all Gibson mandolins, but fancy scrolled ones. And but her mandolin on the wall, you have to understand, she lived in that apartment for 30 years and it was covered in tar. It was literally stuck to the wall in tar. It was black. I didn't know what color this mandolin was. It was a black guitar kind of melted into the wall, or a mandolin anyhow. And she died, and her friend knew that that he knew that she wanted to give me that, and her friend was like executor of her will, and so it worked out. His name was Roger. Roger had said, "Hey, Eric, and she wanted you to have that." So I took this thing home. I put it in a hefty bag because it was just so awful. It had a 1/4 inch of tar on it, but I took this stuff called Murphy's oil soap. It's kind of like a soap, but it's oil soap, and it cleans stuff, but it's gentle. So I used like a whole bottle of Murphy's oil soap and about 18 rolls of paper towels, and I kept oil soaping this thing and wiping and get tar off. And it took like 4 hours, but I was able to get down the finish. I was able to save it and pull it out of its 30 years of misery. And so that story meaning I went and bought strings for it, and I was playing the little mandolin. I thought it's getting pretty good, and I was like coming up with little songs and stuff. And I guess that kind of got me into the guitar world through the mandolin, through Evelyn, and but that was a chore, that thing. So I still have it. I bought a little case for it, but it's a beauty. It wasn't one of those high end ones of the day, but it's a Gibson mandolin. It's got I'm sure some value, and but and cute as all can be, just a little nice, I guess, 1930s mandolin, maybe 20s, I don't know, but old. And but certainly a cool thing. And I always felt sorry for her parakeet, who sat in a cage its whole life and it sucked up as much cigarette smoke as she did. And I'm surprised he didn't just fall off his perch. But so anyhow, that's where that came from. But story as it is, um, it it's how I kind of came out to LA. That with my mother being gone, I visited her when she was out here. She remarried, and I visited her in Manhattan Beach, and I was working in a painting crew, painting houses, and I stayed out here, and had various jobs. And then I got in shape, and I was a trainer at a Nautilus gym by the beach in Manhattan, and that's when I saw that drama log for Silent Night, Deadly Night, or what was, as they say, an untitled horror film, auditions in Burbank. So that's how that all came to be. I was out here and thinking I should get involved in the business. I was doing extra work and stuff, and everybody advised me not to do extra work because you weren't a real actor. But I did get on a ton of sets. I did watch the finest actors in television and film, and I didn't sit in the green room picking my nose. I watched a lot of it, and I see, oh, this is how it's really done. You're not going to get that in acting class. That's a very safe little world. Or the real world is there's 50 sets of eyes on you, 80 sets of eyes on you, and you're having to do your work, and like pressure, hit your marks, hit your lines, deliver, and be natural about it, and with everyone looking at you. So when I got a taste of that in the world of going to the studios and watching Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis and Moonlighting and all these Cagney and Lacey's and all these shows from the past, um, learning how they did it, the craft of it, and watching Sybil Shepherd. She was a real pro. She was perfect.
Did you go meet her at Chiller?
I met her at Chiller because it was years later. And thanks for asking, because she had pulled me. I had been on her show 2 or 3 times as an extra. And I remember watching her. I was watching off camera, of course, and she was there was a scene she was doing. They broke for lunch, but she was involved in a scene. She had a pencil in her hand. She was doing some dialogue. She was pretty as all get up. She all made up, and the camera's on her, and she's just beautiful. And I was watching. She saw, all the time that I was watching. But the thing is, um, they broke for lunch. Okay, so well, it's lunch, and we'll come back. And there was like an hour. And she got up off what she was doing. She walked over to me and she grabbed me by the hand. She walked over to like a corner and said something like, "I've seen you before." And I said, "Yeah, I've been on your show a couple times." And she goes, "Why are you doing this?" And I said, um, "Well, I'm trying to save my money to get in SAG." And I go, it's expensive. And so she said, "Well, yeah, you should be doing what I'm doing," is what she said. And I said, "Wow, I'd love to be doing what you're doing. No one will touch me because I'm not in the unions." And you can't, you got to get in the unions to get a job in the union. And she goes, "Yeah, I know." And I said, "So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing." And she gave me some words of encouragement. And so when you brought up Chiller, I guess what we talking, God, 30 years later,
Hmm.
I waited till there was a lull because she had a huge line wanting her autograph for all
Hmm.
her for being a movie star and television star. So I waited till there was a lull, and I talked to her handler later, and I said, "Could I talk to Miss Shepard? I'm an actor. Um, I was on her show years ago." It's funny because I got some lines on her show about 6 months after she had a line on her show, not lines, but I said I was on her show as an actor, which
Hmm.
later after she pulled me outside and stuff. But I had a line. It wasn't even with her. I wish it were, but it was something called I had flowers for Maddie Hayes was the line. I was a FTD florist guy. I was a flower guy. And I show up and I deliver the line, and while I'm giving like the secretary, it was Miss Beasley. I gave Miss Beasley the flowers as I recite my line. And so when I was at Schiller, I talked to the lady that handles her front line of defense, I guess. And I said, I really would like to talk to her and say thank you. She gave me some words of encouragement many decades ago. And I ended up doing a couple things, a lot of things, but one in particular I'm here for. And so I got to talk to her. I got to talk to her all these years later to say thank you. Yes. And so thank you. And so I did. I talked to her, and she was it was a real genuine moment because I literally, I came really on the cusp of tears, I guess, because it was just remembering of all those years back and all the clowning around that Bruce Willis was just a clown back then. He was funny. He was a comedian. He came off the kind of the comedy circuit really, and he was always clowning, and she was very professional, and they were always fighting like cats and dogs. And I was on that show, got a line on that show, and she was really encouraging. So thanks for that. Only to say that sometimes people can walk in and say something just to to keep you going, and it helps because a lot of my contemporaries in the day were doing anything that they were trying to get me to get out of the business, in the sense like they were sick of it, and they were always like, "Yeah, I'm sick of it, I'm going to get out of this. What do you think?" They were just kind of wanting to get out with someone else so they could feel better about how hard it was to get work. And uh and so it's nice when someone like Sybil Shepherd said, it gives you something to, I guess I was a decent looking guy, and I was paying attention to her. So she kind of thought, hey, why not tell this guy to quit doing this extra work and get a real job? But bills needed to be paid. And it wasn't a bad gig to go and do this stuff in different locations. What am I supposed to do? Be a waiter or I set enough ceramic tile to fill a boat, but I did a lot of stuff. But that was a job that was in the business that I could be around people in the business and get a taste of it. Because normally you're never on the set, and I was on a lot of big, whether it be 20th Century in this case, or Warner or Paramount. I'd always be on the set of these various studios doing, crap work, extra work. Sometimes I got picked out for nothing in common. They, and that helped with Tom Hanks and Jackie Gleason. And so, I mean, that doesn't happen where you get picked out and, push Jackie Gleason around. I know I mentioned that last time, but these things help you. And it's just a matter of how much. It's not about, it wasn't anything special. I certainly wasn't like insanely handsome like all the actors I would be up against that were, but I was just by the sheer fact of repetition and quantity. I was out there and out there and out there. Something had to happen. I was always bothering people with AFTRA cards, American Federation of Television and Radio. That was different from SAG then. Now they're merged, but I was always asking guys in AFTRA if they could give me the show sheet so I could submit myself to the soap operas because I wanted a soap opera so bad. So, because I love the dialogue of the ton of dialogue. It wasn't like, do you want fries with that? It was more 30 pages, and I wanted volume. I wanted to be able to memorize this stuff and create a character. And the soaps were written really well in the day. And I used to be in a lot of soaps as an extra, a ton of them. And I'd see these actresses, and they'd always talk about all the prisoners in the various prisons all over the United States writing them. And they'd have I'm talking, Greg, hefty bags filled with correspondence, with letters from prisoners to these pretty actors. I'm saying, I said, that's prison mail? She goes, that's prison mail. And she goes, I try to read as much as I can. and, 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 and she goes, they're surprisingly decent. and I, they're not saying, hey, baby, rah, rah. They're just, they're saying, I love your character. And they're just totally into the soap. So they'll plug in prison and watch her on Days of Our Lives or whatever. And so that was really neat to learn that they had a whole world of, because they were women and attractive women, they'd get the prisoner contingent. And so where the men did not, or unless they were like gay or but whatever, but or they just were a cool character, maybe they get prison letters. But all in all, it was a women's game there, and so that was really kind of cool to see what they were up to. And I was always like, God, I'd love to read one of those, but I never did. And so yeah, it all started with extra work and on up. And you can do it. Anyone that's listening if this ever gets in the hands of some 16-year-old that wants to get into the game, just be ready. Just be ready. Be the best thing you can do is just have your wits about you. Try to be intelligent and as intelligent as you can, well read, and because if you get a break, or an audition, do well. I did well on auditions. I may have been over the top on Silent Night, Daily Night too, but when I got my foot in the door with the casting director, I did well. It wasn't uncommon that they would call back to the agent and say, wow, this guy's a force of nature, but he's wrong for this family unit we're building. But, and I knew it going in on some of this stuff that I nailed it. When you're doing it, when you're reciting the lines and it's going so well, there's two parts of your brain, the reality side and the non-reality side. And the reality side's going, fuck, am I nailing it? and the non-reality side is the dialogue and sure enough I'd get a call and the agent said, hey Eric, this doesn't happen, but the casting director just called and said, wow. And I said, yeah boy, I knew that went well. And I remember that audition very well because I did everything right. I was supposed to come in out of the rain, so I pretended I was wet, and I started from pretending I was wet. So everything that you would happen of coming in out of the rain under those circumstances, I did it, and so I didn't leave no stone unturned. So I remember that just going so well, and so it was that kind of stuff. Keep getting out there, and the agent knew that if I got called in, I would either land it or be right at the top, or where they would end up hiring a existing well-known actor that's already on that network. That was usually how it went. Is I would be the backup to A. Martinez was a actor of note, or it didn't matter who. It'd be a soap opera actor I'd be up against, and he'd get it because he was on the same network, or he literally be Tom Selleck for Friends, who gets Friends for a couple of seasons instead of us, or I meaning just nobodies. And so that it was, if you keep plugging away, and you're unrelenting, and you aren't saddled with too much burden of financial burden, meaning hopefully you're not married and have kids or something where that's tough. That's really tough. You have to hold on a major job and feed your family, and then try to audition. But if you're a lone wolf, and you're living on cobwebs, you can do it. You can just stick with it. And if you're the son or daughter of some, if you go into Beverly Hills High School and you got all the connections in the world, or your son or daughter or some producer in town, yeah, yeah, you'll get a great agent, you'll get work, but that just happens to that select amount of people. But the average joker from Peoria or Minneapolis or um, Wichita, doesn't matter. You gotta do it. You gotta do it, and do as many auditions as you can. These days, that's real easy. You phone it in. You literally videotape yourself and send it in, and you can do 83 takes. But in my day, like I'm some old coot, but we had to go in front of the casting director and shop it. We had to do in front of her one take. We didn't get to do 83 takes on a video and send in your best shot. We had to perform on the spot. And then if you got a callback, you usually, I would call money people would show up. That would be the writer, that'd be the director, that'd be the producers. You'd be auditioning again in front of them and the casting director. The casting director has a lot on the line too. They have to weed out what it was a truly talent and then bring them into the money people. So there was always a callback, and that you could either have butterflies or not. I never did, only because I knew it was such a crapshoot to get the job. It would, and that was, to me, that was the buzz, Greg. The buzz was, the work was the work, but the buzz, the part that got me excited was failing or succeeding, and going in there and seeing what I could do. So that was always, to me, that was the part, was very edgy and very okay, this is make or break. This is it. Let's go in that door, shake their hands, meet them. And for me, you could pull yourself off your own dialogue. If you have stuff memorized and you go in and talk to people, you can pull yourself right off your memory of what you're supposed to do. And that is not good. But you have to present yourself as, again, reality, the room. You have to, the casting director, you have to say hi to her again. You have to meet all the money people, and then you've got to go back into actor zone. And that's not easy to shift those paradigms, but you have to be able to do that. So you have to be personable, because ultimately, if anyone's listening wants to know how it really is, the casting director wants to know you're not a nutter, and you're not going to be a problem on the set. You're not going to be a problem to these money people, because she needs to have or keep her job. She needs to be relevant and hopefully work for 8 or 10 years on a show like Friends, and bring talent in to work. So her ass is on the line. So she's got to make sure you're not a nutter. And then you have to present yourself as, hey, the guy seems like a nice guy, easy to work with. I can tell him what I want. He'll crawl through glass, it looks like. He'll do whatever I ask. And you have to be able to say, yeah, I'll walk through that dog crap. I don't care. And you have to. You can't go, oh, so that's important, to show that you're a normal folks, and you're a normal person. And then you have to, oh, I've got those 2 pages I have to recite, or I've got whatever. And then and sometimes I would even refer to my dialogue that I had done. I'd look at it and I'd refresh myself, say, okay, let's go. And then we do it. But I didn't mean to be long-winded, other than to say that the getting the job is exciting, but it requires work. And chain yourself to your coffee table, drink coffee. I don't care what you do, get that dialogue down, because the person that comes in that's holding the sides, as they say, part of the script, the pages that he's going to be reading or she's going to be reading, that person's not going to get the job compared to the guy that's got it in his head. Because it's there's an old line that says, get the dialogue down, because what you want to do is you want to give a fresh approach to it, like it's brand new coming out of your mouth. And you don't want that piece of paper in front of you holding you back, or make setting. You want to present yourself in the best way possible. And so memorize it, whether it's a line, a paragraph, or half a page, or a page. Get it down, and if you have to, keep it with you, because you may go up on your lines like halfway through or something where you have to remind yourself what it, but do it very cleanly. But the person that memorizes this can give the best performance. He's not saddled with papers. And so that was always important to me, is doing the homework prior. If you think you can be lazy about it, show up with your sides, and just, I'm a beautiful blonde guy with blue eyes, and I look like a young Robert Redford. Well, fine, but somewhere along the way you're going to have to deliver. And most of these guys did look like that, and they were really models. And and their heads were empty. And so, and they thought they could come in and skate. And everybody, there was all these good looking people, women and men. I'd be in rooms full of women and men going, whoa, Jesus, they're good looking. I was just, whoa. And I knew I wasn't good looking like that. But I said, hey, I've prepared. I'm just going to play it cool, sit back, and they call my name and go in there. And I wouldn't be looking around, getting fidgety or whatever. I would just zone out, and just, go over the dialogue in my head, wait for my turn. And I just didn't want to get nervous by looking at pretty people going in and out. And because it wouldn't help. So that's a little side story on how you get work, or you go to SND and audition for a cop, and you ask who's got the lead when you're leaving. You could do that, because I did that. I was very ballsy, and they had that wrapped up, but they did call me back, so that's the way that went. And I was long-winded. I'm sorry, Greg, but
No,
it,
it's okay. People want to hear you, not me. You go for it.
oh, but no, I just think it's important, because there's always some, like, how does this get done? How do people do this? Well, there's acting classes, and I would say in an acting class, if you're in an acting class or would like to be one, be in one where you're working every week, where you have a scene partner perhaps, and you're rehearsing your dialogue all week, or you're getting down with your dialogue partner outside of the class. But maybe it's an acting class that videotapes on Friday, where they're actually shooting your scene in a situation that looks much like a studio. That's the kind of acting class you want to be in, where you're a working actor, in a sense of you're getting out there, you'll find out in short order what's your best side, what mannerisms to drop, what not to do, what to do. Play it cool. Less is more, and not like Ricky Caldwell, and that's more is more. But the less is more approach, and find out how you look on camera. They'll if it's a and so if you're doing on camera shooting of you of your partner in your act, that's the best kind of acting class, is shooting once a week, and then looking at your work, and looking, and people, they'll say, actors, oh, they don't like looking at their work. Well, you better look at your work, because you get an idea. Okay, I'm more handsome on my left side than my right side. I'll never do that again. And maybe it's something you did, or mannerisms. They say that you don't have to look at yourself forever. If you become a star or somebody that of note, you don't have to look at your work. Just, you'll know you're good. But when you're first starting out, it's imperative that you watch yourself, and you have a discernible eye, and maybe don't let others cut you down or anything. Like if they're showing it back in class, just do it'll also put a little extra motivation on you when there's a classroom full of people doing work, doing scenes that are being taped, and you're all looking back at it. You're looking at other people do stuff and say, hey, that's interesting, I like what he's doing. Or you know I remember I was in some scene. We were all doing the same scene, unfortunately, but we were all doing the same scene in some thing that was like a soap opera scene, and I was the only one. The DA comes in and she's yelling at me because I didn't follow procedure. I didn't read Miranda to some perp or whatever we busted. And she goes, how the hell am I going to present this to the judge? You didn't read him his rights, whatever. And she's yelling at me. And she's like basically pointing the file at me, and I take the file from her. No one prior was, they were just like having this thing waved at her. I took the file from her and I opened it up. I was like, well, let's just say that we had probable cause, and the reason I did that is because it gives you business. It's like it's the old days, they'd smoke a cigarette or they'd be doing something. That was always the great thing of a cigarette back then. It made you look cool. You're like Fonzie, got the cigarette, and it was cool business. So I just said, hey, let me do some cool business. I'll pull the file out of her hand and take a look myself. So, and I did that, and all of a sudden they all started doing that after me because it was a cool little trick. So always pull the camera to you. I don't, I learned through extra work how to get more FaceTime that way. Stall. If you're in the camera, if you're supposed to be walking through the scene in the back as an extra while the business is going on in the front, I would just make sure that I was seen longer. If I came through the scene in the back, I would do anything to stop and be seen.
Marlon Brando did that too.
Yes, you were exactly right. And I remember a reporter asking Brando, saying, "You are well known for never looking any your lead actress in the eye." And he says, "Why should I? My problems are more important than hers." And I thought that was hilarious because by him not giving her deference and looking at her in the eye, he's pulling the camera towards himself. He's looking off this or that, or he's doing something, but you're drawn into Brando. He had an unusual way back then of sucking the energy to himself because he wasn't doing the norm. He wasn't looking at her in the eye and listening to her as you should do, because listening is the half of the acting. You really want to do that, but he would do that, but he would pull you away and just eat the camera, and that's why he was Brando. So there's a lot to be said for that. It's cigarettes, it's doing business, it's getting more camera time by being smart. So that's always those are cool little tricks that you can only learn by experience and time and hearing, as you knew about Brando so much, and the reporter asking about Brando and why he doesn't look eye to eye with his actors. Why should I? I'm more important. And indeed, it worked for camera so well that you were just like, wow, who's that magnetic? That's why he got a reputation of like, who is this guy?
Well, I'll give you a couple of examples. Like in A Streetcar Named Desire, for example, there was something happening in a scene. It's been a while since I've seen it, but there's a little dust particle or something. He goes like that to bat it out of the way or something like that, which was not in the script. It's just something he did, but he stayed in character. Or in On the Waterfront when they're going onto the swing set and he's got Eva Marie Saint's mitten and he's kind of taking it and putting it on his hand or whatever.
Right.
All that stuff like that. We talked about that in my history of film class because Brando was kind of a different kind of actor at that time. And so, yeah, I get what you're saying there, getting the camera to look at you. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess also you make a good point in the regard of, they'll always say try to be natural. That's why I was in acting classes. They say get the dialogue out of the way, meaning get it down, get it out of the way, and then you can be yourself. So if there's some fly buzzing around your head and you're talking to your leading lady, you're going to swat at it or to get the cobweb out of the way, or when you're walking by a swing set and you swing it as you're going by. Be yourself. Let your personality come out. And Brando was a king of that without trying. He just, some of these guys, Montgomery Clift was different than Brando, where he was very mannered in a sense. He would actually, in his head, he would know what he was going to do. These very natural things he was going to do, he would know he was going to do them before they shot. He would work all this out. If he was going to come up and touch his nose, and he did that a lot, he would or something where Brando might have had an itchy nose. Brando might have went up and did this, or you see De Niro eating like a hoagie or something, and he'll wipe his mouth off while he's talking, and he's yelling back at someone. That's what men do. Men are chewing, and they got food on their face or mayonnaise, and they're wiping their mouth off, and they continue with the dialogue, and that's real stuff. It's or maybe you're barely saying what you need to say. It's not that clear because there's a mouthful of food. And just remember that if you're shooting 8 different directions and you're getting your close up and you're getting getting coverage with the camera because you're shooting at many angles, that you're going to have to go back and do that scene again with the mouthful of food and the wiping of your hand and across your mouth. And I mean, that's what continuity people are for. But a good actor will know exactly what he did at exactly that time and still make it look natural. But Montgomery Clift was a very mannered actor. Well, and if you look back at it, you go, geez, that was just very thought out, wasn't it? Where Brando was just, it was a more natural way about him that he started that, and James Dean would be kind of like that too. Where you just wonder where would James Dean be if he were alive today? He'd be a great 80-year-old actor. But these are things that you can't that make an actor memorable. It's just the little things. Get the dialogue out of the way and try to take in all of it and bring it alive, if you will. And if you have to, like, hey, and if you're sitting on the set waiting to go on and do something, you say, I'm going to do this take a little bit differently. I'm not going to be so rigid in this one. I'm going to let it out and just, and then you can practice, because if you're going to do multiple, if you got a director that wants to do number of takes, you can do it any which way you want. Just talk to the director, make sure you get what he wants, but you can play it a little different. You don't have to do it, 3, 4, 6 times the same way. So unless you have to, once if you're doing coverage, once you get a master on that, and then you're getting close-ups and POV and all this, then you got to stick to what and what brought you there. But I'm that's cool that you have that kind of show you've done that you talk about these great actors that and how and what they did on the set and what it did and scenes and various on the waterfront and Streetcar and Marlon what's Carl Malden and Vivian Lee. He only sees Vivian Lee at night in the dark. She's always kind of in the shadows, and then he finally catches her in the stark light of day, and he's just shocked. he's like, because she's a lot older than he thought she was, because she was always like, that's, and he's just like, whoa, wow, and but yeah, she was just kind of like playing him, and he finally realizes, well, look, well, you're a train wreck, and but that was interesting that movie, and such good actors came out of that, and it's interesting we got into that, but yeah, though these are, I never made it. I had to get out due to illness, but I did learn a lot. I was around a lot of people that a lot of television stars, a lot of movie stars, a lot of Faye Dunaway and Louis Jourdan from back in the day, and Sidney Poitier, and just meeting these people, meeting a lot of people, and it was I knew what they had done, so it was I wasn't some dumb young actor that didn't know, Faye Dunaway from Network or Bonnie and Clyde, or I'm like, wow, that's Louis Jourdan and Faye Dunaway right there, and I'm some cop walking around them, in a scene, and like, I just finally said, wow, I can't believe I got 2 huge stars I'm standing next to, and they were like melting. Oh, thank you, and because they're there all day, and not anyone on the set really knows who they are. They were just like greats from the past, and I'm like, I knew, and so when I mentioned scenes from one movie he did, scenes from her movies, and they were just like, how does this 20-year-old kid knows this? Because I loved watching this stuff. And I mean, I don't know. I gravitate toward the older films and black and white
Hmm.
and all the above because they're lit so well and the acting is so good. But yeah, no, fun times back then. It was a cool time to be out there trying to get work. And Stallone said it best. He said, "Yeah, yeah, we were all living on cobwebs," and so you know, and he knew it well. So it's kind of neat how some of these guys made it big. And then there was other actors that were real on top, making a lot of money in television that were just cokeheads and stuff. And you're like, they'll remain nameless, but a lot of names we all know were like hooked on cocaine and they
Hmm.
disappeared. And it's like, Jesus, you idiot. You idiot. I mean, where I'd see them in the gym and it'd be more time, they'd spend more time in the bathroom because they would literally do a set and they'd go in and then snort a line and they'd come out and do a set and they would be back and forth, and it's like checking their hair or doing a line. And then it's like, God, man, you're on a hit TV show and you're a cokehead. And I'm like, I'm dying to be on anything that's hit. And they're pissing it away. And so, yeah, I saw a lot of that. So, and then a lot of people that ate their way out of the business. I saw that. It's like, stop, man. You're a name. Don't eat your way out of the business. And but they couldn't stop. So, um, but that's the business. Stay hungry. I would say stay hungry, stay motivated, be prepared because if your chance comes up, you want to be. There's no luck. There's just you're if you're prepared and the opportunity arises, you'll get it, and then if you keep hungry and and literally hungry, physically hungry, and this hungry for to make something of yourself, you can do it. And so I don't know why I said all that, but
Oh, I like
just
it.
my experiences leading up to SNDN and after. SNDN was just a blip of many things, but it was, and I wasn't an arrogant man, but I was sure of myself, and and the gym helped a lot with that, and feeling like who's going to stop me? No one's going to stop me. I'm going to make it. No one's going to stop me. So that's how you conduct yourself. Stay in the business. I don't care if you're working for your agent and you're used to be some of these actors they'd be working at the agency, um, where all the submissions come in. Like we're looking for 18 to 24 young man to say blah blah blah. And these actors I knew would work at these agencies, and they would be the ones helping the agents submit various actors from that agency for that role to the casting director. So they would work actually for the agency as a job, and then go out on call. They'd see what came in too, um, in the regard of work they came in. They were able to submit themselves for these jobs too, which helps. So somehow stay active in the business the best way you can, and if that's an avenue. But these days it's not the same. You're at home, and it's much like we're doing Zoom, and you do your scene and and you submit it. So it's gotten very easy for an actor, very easy. And like I said, you could do 30 takes on something until you are happy with what you see, and then send it to the casting director. But I imagine the casting director is still going to want to see you in a callback situation, or they're going to want to see you because it's that nutter factor. They don't want it's actors are as mad as snakes anyhow. They're half of them are loony. So you don't know what you don't want a problem on the set. So at some point the casting director's got to see their prospective piece of talent, I imagine. I wouldn't have it any other way if my ass was on the line as a casting director for a new TV show or a commercial or so yeah. No, it's very interesting. business, but you have no control, none. And you have no control. So you just have to um, do your best under the circumstances. Are you tall enough? Or do you have blue eyes? Do you have blonde hair? Do you fit the family scene that they're looking for? Or do you uh, there was 35,000 of me at that time, pounding the pavement in Hollywood. So there was a lot of me, 18 to 24s. So that my was my category, 18 to 24. And there was more than enough of me in the guild. Uh, so you were fighting a just in closing on that, I would ask casting directors' assistants when I walked out of the casting director's room and into the main room where the assistant is. I would stop and talk to them. Usually it's a lady. I'd say, so that really was great. She's great. I appreciate you calling me in. And I'd say, so how many submissions were there originally before I got called in? She goes, look over there. And there'd be a stack or two stacks, 4 feet high, of 8x10s and resumes. Resumes was usually at that time either glued or stapled to the back of the 8x10. Much like you showed my 8x10, there'd be a resume on the back of it. And there'd be a stack 4 feet or two stacks of 4 feet high resumes and headshots for that role. So they had to look through couple of thousand people and weed it down to like 8 or 10 and then call those in. And if I was part of that 8 or 10, that's like rarefied air stuff. And then you go from there to land in the job. So you have no control. I mean, but these days people are, if you're very handsome and very good looking lady, it helps. I would just say have a good head on your shoulders, be smart, be streetwise, be very savvy, be able to improvise. If if you don't you have to be able to improvise. If you're in a casting situation and you go up on your lines, meaning you drop, you don't know your line, you forgot them, or you have to get the gist of it across so you can keep it going. Maybe you don't know the exact words or you forgot them, but you get the train of thought across and you can keep it rolling. And that's if you goof it up, but you just do it seamless, so it doesn't look like you goofed it up. And just do your best. And I don't know why I got into that because that's never talked about. It really isn't. People just think they can go to acting class, and if they even need it, everyone thinks they can do it. But you can learn a lot in camera and lighting and how you look and how you deliver the lines and what you need to work on or what you need to. It's really what not to do. There's probably 15 things that you'll say, oh no, 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 I'm not doing that again. I'm not going to go. That wasn't a good move. That was that experiment I did, that wasn't working. Um, so yeah, that's why you can hone this in front of the camera. And so because if you get a job on TV, um, you got to deliver and you got to do your job, and then you can't screw up that. You can't screw it up. So I'd say get used to the camera. Camera's your friend. Be out there as much as you can. Be entertaining. As a general rule, be an entertaining person. Try to be magnetic in a way of, if you have knowledge in various topics, it's always nice to have a degree of knowledge and intelligence in a variety of topics, so you can hold your own in any conversation. Go to a function or a Christmas party or a Thanksgiving, and you can be there's always going to be the gregarious light of the life of the party kind of guy, or but don't be a wallflower. Be interesting. That's easier said than done. But yeah, these things matter, and having knowledge and intelligence and a variety of topics is going to help you immensely. I don't care if it's nuclear fission, know enough about it that you can not be an idiot in a conversation, or it can be anything. You could go from being a mechanic to being an electrician to what do you know about nail polish, or women's shoes, or hair stuff, or whatever, or what women like, or and so you can talk to a variety of stuff. Oh, you're a lawyer, so you can talk with a lawyer and you get along with them and be and keep the conversation on them. And because ultimately, when someone's talking about themselves, as I'm doing, um, they're happier when they end the conversation. You and I end tonight, and and we both want to leave like, wow, that was enjoyable, that was fun, that was cool. And that's what a good person will do in a conversation, is make the other person feel like $1 million, whether he just met him or like we're old friends. So be gregarious and outgoing and dynamic. And some of these actors we look at all these, we look at Ryan Reynolds, we look at uh, uh, you name it. I mean, we can look at any actor from Tom Cruise. I mean, you look at his early stuff with Tom Cruise, and he had something. He had something. But I mean, you look at like the earliest on some of these stars, and like, man, that guy's cardboard. He doesn't have anything. How do you ever get this job? And you can think that. I mean, we see enough of that. I mean, I remember the early De Niro stuff. The guy was stone cold terrible. I mean, he was terrible. But but he's De Niro. But there's sometimes that so wouldn't he splinters, or you look at Caldwell and it's like, God damn, what the hell is that? But it called for this guy. I gave that, and I didn't know that brand of crazy too well, and I did it. But hey, people know me for it. So, but then there's other work I did that was so completely subtle and beautiful, and I was like, wow, that's my best work. No one even knows it, but it's you've got the entertainment gene. You know how to be entertaining. You've got your own show. You do well. Um, it's all about just having something going on in your head. You can't be an empty, good-looking model actor, because it shows when you go in front of the casting director. She's gonna go, God, she's beautiful, but she's a bubblehead, and exactly, and that's why they're like, and then out goes the bubblehead, and then another bubblehead goes in. And then the guy that I'm like 5 out of 10, I go in there and get the job because there's nothing more attractive than a guy that's got energy. You got to go out there with, if you get into that room, have energy, deliver the goods, cry if it's necessary to cry, or show the range of emotion. They'll pick scenes for you that do help you have a range of emotion. You just got to give it. And so, because you can always have the beautiful actor go in the room, but he's not necessarily going to get it. That's where you want to, we know many. What's her name? Vera lady. What's her last name? She's not a super attractive woman, but she's such a good actress. It'll come to me. But she's done a ton of stuff outside
What
of
what
Leo.
was her first name?
Her name's Vera
Vera Farmiga?
Farmiga.
Yeah, the
So,
Conjuring movies. Yeah.
right. Or she's done a ton of stuff. No one's going to say she's a young Halle Berry in the looks department. But you know what she's got? She's got the chops. That's why she's so pretty. Well, I mean, she takes her, I watched her back when she was 18 in movies and stuff. The thing is, she is so talented. It surpasses what look she has. So all of a sudden she becomes very attractive on camera because she knows what she's doing. And no one's going to say Glenn Close is some raving beauty. She's not a Sophia Loren, or she's not a Raquel Welch or something. But Glenn Close, when the camera's on it, that woman is on the money. I mean, she makes herself beautiful because she's got the brain. The thing is, there's something about the energy and the intelligence coming out of the eyes. That's because her head is loaded with experiences and wisdom, and it just shows. And so there's that. I've met many empty-headed people in the day, and they were just they were their looks let them skate along in life. And like, well, I wish I had those looks, but I don't. So and you just do you just come alive. And someone's going to say, hey, he's not as beautiful as that last guy, but God, man, he delivered beyond belief. This guy's so far the best. And then I leave, and then I get called in, or I get called in back in, and then I don't get the job, but I got a call back. So I don't know. These are just little tricks you learn, little this and that, but actors aren't anything special. And the true nature of actors, they're really kind of lunkheads. I mean, they're not that bright outside of their little world of knowing their marks and knowing their lines. They're Spencer Tracy said that. Know your marks, know your lines, be on time. And it's a good little three things to know. But he was a smart actor. Um, but you don't want to skate through life with your looks alone. If you're a good looking lady and you happen to be hearing me, don't just be a good looking lady. You know what surpasses your good looks? Delivering the goods. That surpasses your looks. I always would say to these pretty girls I'd be with that would be, constantly doing their, in the scenes that we do scenes together, but they'd be doing their lipstick and makeup and all this and fluffing their hair. And I would say, I got to a point where I'd just say, look, you're pretty. You're very pretty. Forget that. Put that to the side. The camera's going to pick up your pretty. Just do the work because you'll just be prettier if you can imagine that. I mean, it's kind of like something that couldn't. They just wanted to be prettier. Like, okay, the camera's going to love me. It will. So don't bother with the pretty. It's going to pick it up whether your lip gloss is on or not. It's going to catch it. If you're a young Michelle Pfeiffer, you're beautiful. So forget that. Deliver the goods. You'll even be more beautiful. So it's something that escapes men and women. If you're a good looking man, if you're Tom Cruise or you're a Ryan Reynolds or what's his name, Wolverine, I forgot his name, just good
Hugh
looking man.
Jackman.
Jackman thing. You're
Mhm.
already good looking. We know this. That's why you're there. So just deliver the goods. Don't be sitting there trying to, make me prettier. Who cares? You're already you're exceptional, top 1%. So these are things that I wish women knew better because they've kind of their whole life been judged on pretty, pretty, and women are so hard on other women, and the magazines saying be prettier, make your butt this and do that, and if you're pretty, you're pretty. So, uh, don't work on that. Work on the what's important. And so, enough of that. I know you got questions, but it is. I appreciate you letting me spout on about it, but there's got to be the inside little nooks and crannies of being an actor or if I was running an acting class, these are the things I'd say, hey, look, work on get the work down, get this down, come in there and it's memorized and you'll be better for it. And because eventually you're going to have to memorize a lot of it. I mean, you can't, when you have pages of dialogue, whether it be on a movie, and that's the easiest type of work in the sense that it's a digital camera now, but they'll do various setups and get the coverage. But if it's a live to tape thing or it's like a soap opera, you got three live cameras on you and it's going boom, boom, boom. It's going 1, 3, 2, 2, 1, 3. And they're just getting your shots and it's live theater. It's shot on camera and you can't screw up there. You got 30 pages. You better, you can't screw up. You will be fired. So that's pressure and you have to be used to pressure. And I would say get yourself used to that kind of pressure situation. If you can do nothing else and you can't afford acting classes, get a bunch of actors together and get your cameras together and get a place to shoot and work on your craft with doing various scenes. Write your own stuff, do your own stuff, maybe shoot your own movie and or whatever. But that way you can learn the little things that matter. My right side is I prefer. I look better on this side. I will defer to this side when I'm speaking over here or over here, and or whatever. Or Michael Caine had a lot of tricks. He would always say, you look at the always stare at the eye that's closest to the camera. Meaning so you're catching more of your face in the shot instead of looking at her left eye. You look at her right eye that's closer to the camera. So that these are just little tricks you'll learn that nobody's going to say Michael Caine was some hack. The guy was and is one of our finest actors ever. And so so when he writes a book on acting, you pay attention and read it. So anyhow, I'm blabbering, but just what I learned. It's all the stuff you pick up, and it never left me. It's all there. I can remember nearly all of it, and it's kind of a curse. But um, I'll shut up, and you can ask
Oh
questions.
no, no. I no people I hear you, not me. But I wanted to say you mentioned soap operas and you wanted to learn lots of dialogue and this and that. Now in Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, you're the lead. And you've got a lot of dialogue in that film. Talk about the process of memorizing that and coming across. Was it easy? Was it talk about that?
Well, I can be brief. I'll try to be brief in the sense of it's best. Brevity is the soul of wit. Um, I got this job late. I remember Lee calling me after I was on that audition. I said, "Who's got the lead?" And they said, "Oh, we've got it covered. They got David Heavener. They wanted for this the lead of the movie." I got called a few days later. I think it was a first guy. It was a Monday or Tuesday, and Lee called me. Says, "Hey, Eric, it's Lee Harry. You auditioned for us the other day." I said, "Yeah, yeah, Lee, hi." And he says, "Hey, we're thinking of you for something else." And then I came in and I read. I didn't know what it was for, but I was reading for the beginning Bloom stuff um, in the psych in the psycho hospital, and then I left. So they wanted to catch me on camera with this stuff. See, okay, what's this guy got? And I played it real dark because that's the way it was written. I didn't see any humor in that, and I played it real dark. And but I got called late in the week saying, Lee says, Eric, we want you for this. And it was a Wednesday or a Thursday, or it was late. It was Wednesday, I think. And he said, Eric, we want you for this. We want you to come up and sign some papers and stuff, but it's shooting Tuesday. We're shooting. We're actually shooting Monday, he said, but that's with the person that plays a younger version of you. And then Tuesday you're on, which was up doing the psychiatrist stuff with Bloom. So to answer your question, I backpedaled on this. To answer is I didn't have a lot of time. My thing was, and as you would know by now, is memorize this. And so I think I got my hands on the script that Friday when I went and signed stuff. So I had the weekend, and Tuesday was to go. So to me, I couldn't develop a character. I didn't know what they wanted other than they showed me up there on the after I auditioned for that Bloom stuff. They showed the other stuff. Lee and Joe Earl had written all these funny scenes, and they were laughing doing the scenes in front of me and laughing and belly laughing. And then they said, "Look, we need to lighten this thing up." It was a movie that got pulled because it was dark, and he was trying to slay the clergy and a mother superior. And so the bottom line is I just wanted to get the dialogue down. I didn't have time to work out some character. Um, and that's what I did. I worked on that. The process for me was just to go over it and over it and over it. And I knew that Tuesday was the sanitarium stuff. So I dwelled on that, but I got it all. I got familiar with it, but I dwelled on that because I didn't want to be. I was on enough sets as an extra to not want to fuck up. I had enough experience on that to not. I didn't want to go to. I've never liked people looking over my shoulder or thinking I'm holding them up, or I've never liked that feeling, and I've never wanted to be. I don't want to be the guy to go up on the lines. I used to watch Ken Wall do that, a show called Wise Guy,
Hmm.
television, good looking man, and but he would go up on his lines. It would be late night, and I can understand it's probably end of the day for him, and but he would go up on his lines. And then and he'd get all pissed off, and he had a bad attitude. And I swear he like bad attitude his way out of the business, or he just had it and left himself. I don't know, but I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to. And then Sidney Poitier, on the other hand, when I was watching him, man, guy was the most. He was exactly how as you ever saw him on film. Most genial, nice, decent man you could imagine. So I mean, but I'm just saying I didn't want to be the guy'd fuck up a scene or hold it up or hold anyone up. I hate that. And so that was like, get that down, get that down, get that down. So all that stuff with Bloom, I got that down. It was backwards, forwards, inside and out. I didn't have, it was a lot of the, in these kind of dialogue scenes, they're like, where Bloom might say, so what did you think about that? And these little trigger lines that you can almost recite the same thing you said a minute earlier because it's the same kind of response I keep getting from him. He's just going, well, how'd that make you feel? Or whatever. And then you're lucky you don't trip yourself up and pull up a line from 30 seconds ago because he's not giving you anything to trigger your next line. Rather, he's giving you the same kind of response as the last response. So you have to be aware of that too, in the sense that if you're up on in court, and you're like a witness in court and a TV show or something, they're going to ask you questions that are so close to the other question, or they're going to that it can be almost a trap door in the sense that you already answered that, and then they're going to ask you a question that would almost, if you didn't know, you have your wits about you, you'd answer in the same way, the same line over again, because they're not giving you anything to trigger that next line other than the same thing they just asked. So keep that in your head as an actor, that those kind of scenes, whether you're a witness in a witness box or you're in court or you're answering questions from a psychiatrist or whatever, these are questions that that are very similar in nature, and that when you have to have your wits about you to know where the dialogue's going. So that's why it's imperative you have it down. So I didn't mean to divert, but
Mhm.
for any actor that wants to know, that's why it's so important to have this crap down. Have it down, have it down. Someone say, I don't know, my memory. There's nutrients for memory, but just work on that. And because that I didn't screw up on any of the dialogue and all that crap we did. It was a full day of that sanitarium, and it was a lot of scenes and a lot of stuff. It wasn't like we shot it in 3 days, and we shot 3 days worth in a day. So um, it allowed me to be the overact, which I did. So, and I knew and as a dad, if I would just at least say, hey, Eric, but he didn't. He just let me fly like a bird. And
Oh, everybody overacted in it. Don't worry about it.
yeah, no, but I look at that, it's like, whoa. But for Caldwell, it's like some people they fully accepted him, but I answered your question and then we got wonky. Just all I cared about was getting the dialogue down, not embarrassing myself.
Well, I had Daryl Guibo on here earlier this year, who played the younger version of you, and great guy. You was to talk about over the top. I always found it funny he murders this abusive boyfriend of this girl, and the girl thanks him, and it's just such an odd thing, whereas in the original film, um, Billy, grabs this guy and up by the Christmas lights there, and then the girl freaks out. She ends up stabbing her, and it's like, okay, it's different with Billy, but anyway, I wouldn't know what's the most difficult scene for you to shoot, because it seems to me that you are very good at getting your lines in, and as far as that goes. But was there any scene that was real difficult for you to do?
I would have to search my memory banks on that.
Hmm.
I didn't find anything. No, it didn't try me at all in any aspect of that. There wasn't a lot of physical things to do. Um, the only thing that was I perhaps was a little bit apprehensive of the, the love making scene of me and Elizabeth Caton, only because I walked out naked out of that little back that side bathroom. Because I knew that I had to be naked in the bed with her for whatever. Uh, but that was like, oh, how are you? I had to meet her, just meet her there, and And yeah, yeah,
I think she got naked the following year, Friday the 13th, Part 7, the New Blood as well.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
she had the goods, so
Hmm.
why not? But yeah, it was like, well, I'm dropping my underwear outside with everyone watching, or I'm just coming out naked. And I thought, so came out naked. That way, it's like, so I mean, it's I imagine if you're porno actors are walking around naked all the time. It's like it's you're calloused, you're desensitized. So, um, but I just thought it'd be best, like, okay, you're gonna want me to take my underwear off and slip in the bed. Why not just come out, slip in the bed? So that was the only part that wasn't difficult or anything. There wasn't really anything that it called for in that movie. Um, of any difficulty that I felt physically or emotionally or anything. It was all very, it was probably nothing I wouldn't have done if you would have asked. I mean, if it was some hard slog through some swamp or something like, hey, all day in the swamp, or not that it would have been, but I would have been game for it. You do what you do. You know what you're in for. I'm glad I had the background of doing all that extra shit because it prepared me in knowing that you have to do things over and over and over and over again. It isn't a one-time take, and so um, I was dating a woman that was a makeup artist, special effects makeup artist, and she worked with Arnold and Conan.
Oh, I love Conan the Barbarian.
And Arnold was relatively new as an actor. I mean, he'd done some stuff, Hercules in New York and this and that. But my point is Arnold was game for anything. And she was relating to me when she was on the set, and Arnold, it was on the set of Conan when it was all the mirrors around him and he had the sword and he
Oh,
didn't, and
that's
then,
for Destroyer. Yeah.
yeah, you're right. And so all this glass is broken. It's all day of breaking glass and breaking glass. There's glass all over the floor, this and that. And Arnold's walking through glass, and he's asked to do this, that, and the other, and he's doing it and not grimacing and grumbling about it. And she said, Eric, I was picking glass out of his feet for an hour. And the point is he was that game early on to say, I'm walking through glass. And so why I brought that up is the man, whether you're trudging through a, a sewer pipe or you're walking through a swamp or you're doing this or you're doing that or um, do it and keep doing it and do it all day and don't complain. They want you to be a part of a movie, whether it's a part in a movie or the lead in the movie or you're the star of the movie. Um, don't complain, do it. And I know people are real soft these days, but um, that's what makes someone, you know, and then they do it. Don't just walk through the swamp, but do it like Brando would, right? Slap the gnats off your neck as you're going through, whatever. Make it real. But yeah, yeah, these are important things. But thanks for asking. What was the hardest thing? I can't say. They were so
You
rushed.
me.
It was like so much to do every day, so much, and big, huge days, and just get it done. And we didn't have playback. We didn't have dailies. I didn't have anything I could look at. I didn't know what I was doing clearly, but I mean, I didn't have Lee coming out there and say, Eric, wow, there's a place to get crazy, but not this early, or but $100,000, 5 days worth of shooting, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. So that's what it was. And here we are, uh, 35 years later, 37 years later. Uh,
It's funny because of course, Lee Harry, he's on screen for a brief moment when you guys were in the movie theater. Um, do you remember him directing himself?
that in the regard of him in the back of the theater,
Yeah.
I don't recall. I know that Joe Earl was the associate director and he was the co-writer, and Joe Earl could have very well been helming on the camera. I know that there was the DP Harvey Jenkins was
Hmm.
a very seasoned DP, director of photography. He was handling all the lighting and this and that, and it could have very well been Harvey as well as Joe, but I think Joe or Harvey would handled that. Um, but I had my own bit of business in there and more a few seats forward and off to the left with Liz, and then and but I didn't pay that much attention to. Um, I know the guy Randy that played the loudmouth in the theater was my friend. I got him that job, and I know I was watching that and him get and then him talking to Lee, and then Lee's like the put upon friend, and then they slip me in there. So yeah, Randy, and so that was a cool little bit of business and fun for the day. It was good, and he did a great job, the loudmouth
Hmm.
Randy Post, and so I used to pal around with him. He used to drive up from Orange County, which is far. I'd probably be like a province away for you, and he'd drive into LA, and we'd do extra work all over town, and we were many things together. So
You,
he was a real talented guy, real talented. Now that guy he should have been a movie star, just real talented. The guy had just tons of physical talent, and he was one that I thought for sure. If he would have hung in there, if he would have lived in LA, probably would have made a good name for himself. So yeah,
yeah, there's a lot of fun scenes like that in the movie. I also love a lot of the kill scenes in it too, you know. Very creative, whether it's the umbrella scene, which was creative, or even with Elizabeth Cadence, which she goes, "Oh," she tries to run away. Again, an awkward response to what she just witnessed. But people love that though, like I just had Darren Ewing on from Troll 2, and there's some of these movies that are when they came out, they were looked at as horrible, horrible. And then, but um, I've seen horrible movies. Horrible movies are ones you don't want to watch again. Then you got ones that might not have hit where they were intended to hit, but people still enjoy them, you know? And that's what makes movies like Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 so fun, you know? I like to watch that and the first film as a double feature at Christmas time, you know? And one of the reasons I do that is because at the end of the first one, of course, Billy gets his comeuppance, but Billy was wronged big time. Like, what led him into that, And Mother Superior, like, I like it. Ricky goes, naughty, naughty, and at Mother Superior. On the second film, a lot of people are critical about, the first half of the movie being flashbacks to the original film. But when I stop and look at it, I'm like, is Silent Night, Deadly Night really that terrible? Because because the structure of the film, where you're getting Ricky's background, I think that's all pretty solid, at least from my estimation. And then you got that third act. And one of the things I love is that he goes after Mother Superior. It's like, you know what? Uh, you get away with a lot abusing these kids and this authoritarian attitude. Um, it's a it's like his brother was done wrong, so now he's going there. And it's kind of interesting seeing Mother Superior trying to make the escape, but yet putting on this false, bold uh, stand face-off attitude towards Ricky, So I don't know how they get that head on this body without there being blood shown. But well, but I really enjoy watching those two back to back. I haven't seen three, four, and five, but I like four and five I understand have nothing to do with anything else that happened, from what I understand. Even they have Mickey Rourke, who apparently protested the original film in that fifth one.
If you're
But
ruining it. Yeah.
yeah. But I understand the fifth one had Bill Moseley playing Ricky. I've met Bill Moseley twice. I've never had him on here, but I met him at Frightmare in the Falls twice, and I really liked him in Devil's Rejects. And but nevertheless, you had mentioned the other night when we were talking on the phone, the third film. What did you think of it?
Third one was Bill Moseley. Um, I'm sad to say I never watched more than just a few minutes of it. It was slow and laborious, and he looked like he had a bowl on his head,
Hmm.
and it just was awful. And the background of that was, you can say mine's awful, or someone might, but not you. You like it, but um, Monty Hellman directed that movie. Monty Hellman was known for a movie years earlier called Two Lane Blacktop with James Taylor, the musician, was the lead
Okay,
in it.
yep, yep.
Yeah, it was a hopped up Chevy pickup truck with a 454 dual four barrel motor. I mean, it was he would race people in this truck for pink slips, or literally. Um, and this was there's like a 4 speed Chevy truck with a huge motor in it, and James Taylor was the owner driver, and then he had like the mechanic with him at all times, and always making sure it ran perfectly. And he would go up against Corvettes and this and that. But this movie was a big hit, Two Lane Blacktop. So Monty Hellman was living on that fame, and but Monty Hellman always had these production, it's a movie in production. He was always, when I was looking to the back of Variety, or excuse me, was a Variety, would be one of the two rag sheets that talk about Hollywood productions going on, what's in production, and what's going to be in production. Monty Hellman had his hands in a lot of little projects in development and development and development, but he never got them off the ground. But it was always Monty Hellman is slated to direct so and so, and so these things were in development. And I used to audition for Monty Hellman quite a bit back then. After SNDN two. So, but that's who directed Bill Moseley in the third installment of SNDN, and but he knew who I was because I auditioned for him at least 4 times prior to him having that project in his lap, and but he just didn't want to go the way of Ricky. He didn't like it, or didn't, he just wanted to break away from that and do his thing. And it was I don't know what it was, but it was not memorable, and no one says it's memorable, and no one liked it, and people that years later fell in love with mine via the internet and such. Who always wondered why I wasn't in three. Why weren't you in three? Why weren't you? I was asked that 1,000 times, but
Hmm.
uh, Monty Hellman directed that and didn't like what I did, or didn't like the premise of it, or didn't like something, but he went his own way, and so that's the little background on that. But Two Lane Blacktop was an interesting movie. I'd watch it again. Um, James Taylor, is as big a musical star as you're going to find for the day, and but he was very deadpan, almost, again, very wooden, but good. It was good. It was just, he wasn't an actor at all. I mean, he didn't give any flash of any emotion, or just being even a human being. He just almost drove his truck like an automaton, but it seemed to work. It's maybe we've all met people like that. Just almost like, I can only make the analogy, and I don't mean to make any cuts against anyone, but when people go into the military, it's so disciplined and so regimented that they try to drive the emotion out of you. And sometimes when people come back out of the military, they're it takes them a while to get their personality back. I've noticed, and they can almost be emotionless. They can be just like an automaton, like a soldier, and that's kind of like how he was in Two-Lane Blacktop. Uh, James Taylor, he was just he had no personality. But and I've noticed that with people that I grew up with that went into service, they were very much personality driven people, but the the service at that time didn't allow for that. You had to it was very regimented. There was no time to have a personality of your own. So when people come back out of the military, it takes them a while to acclimate. It might be a lot different now where they don't want to drum that out of you, but in the past years they did that. But that's what I could make the analogy to. So James Taylor was very good in it, but he was the opposite of Caldwell. Where Caldwell might have had some energy behind the wheel of that truck and enjoyed taking people's pink slips, he was indifferent to it and completely indifferent. As in, it didn't matter. I just got to beat this guy, and that's there was not there was it was a strange movie, but yeah, it's one to revisit or visit if you haven't seen um, Monty Hellman, Two-Lane Blacktop, and interesting small film. Probably shot it for you know 50,000. Who knows? But an interesting film. Uh, was Warren Oates in that movie? I think Warren Oates might have been in that movie. He was exciting. Warren Oates was very exciting. I think he was in that movie. Um, Driving like a Pontiac or I want to say a Trans Am or something really fast production car, really fast, super fast. But anyhow, it's neither here nor there. But I thought I'd give the background on three. Uh, Mosley's a great actor. Devil's
Hmm.
Rejects. He did great. He's great. I'd love to have him in on Hinge. That the I wrote a script, of course, for Caldwell to come back, and I want Mosley in it. I want Robert Brian Wilson to be in it too. So that's just a dream of mine. And I was waiting for this remake to get done, this 2025 remake of SNDN, so I can go back and ask the owner, the rights owner, hey, he told me to wait, and I waited. So um, I'm hoping it does good box office. Right at this point, I think SNDN, the remake 2025, has pulled in about 2.8 million in the time it's been out, which is just a short amount of time. So let's hope it does well and then streams well and makes money. And because nothing breeds success in like money. So
Have you seen the new one? Now, I have. There's stuff in it I like. I still like those first two movies best, you know. There's a lot of stuff I liked in this new one, you know. Roland Campbell was terrific, you know. Um, they did some stuff that was different. Some of it I liked, some of it I questioned, but I didn't hate the movie. I'd probably have to see it again, but I have to say I did like what they did with Ruby Modine in the movie, who is the female lead in it. I loved what they did with her. Um, yeah. Did you see the new movie? If so, what'd you think?
no, I did not. And I did see the trailer and I've seen other clips from the movie. And but I would have to agree, she seemed to be a very exciting character. She did her I liked what she was doing is what I saw. I
She was
thought
great in it, and there was some surprises in it that I didn't see coming, which I liked. There is a Garbage Day reference in it, though. I did catch that. I don't know how many other people caught it, but I did catch it. Um, I don't know whether they're at a restaurant or where it is.
a waitress said it or something, I think I heard.
Yeah, comes to the window and says, you gotta take that out. It's garbage day, you know, or something of that effect. And
Throw, throw.
I caught that, and
No,
it's
that
interesting. It shows, even though they were rebooting Silent Night, Deadly Night, it's interesting that they put the garbage day reference in there because it shows how in the zeitgeist that second movie is.
Yes, yes, thank you for that. Because you want to know, look, no matter what, I mean, it's a meme. It's in the vernacular. It's out there. It's zeitgeist, whatever you want to say, but it is fully in the cells of not just the U.S. but worldwide. That garbage day thing is in and well known. I mean, you may not even know there's a movie out there that it comes from, but you know, someone says garbage day. I guess 9 out of 10 may know what the hell that is.
And we
And
love it.
I know, and thank you for that. I just think this is why when I have a great script, and for Caldwell to come back, and naturally I would be playing him because I can do it. and, but I think God, with all the with in a way, it's not like the original. It's a rip off, and I know what they added on, but in a way, he's made his own popularity. Caldwell's made his own popularity because of of that and that line and all that, and it's a meme, and and I've got my own action figure, and I
Mhm.
mean I am blessed. There's no question. I just
Well, here's the thing. People might go on about the part, first third of the movie being flashbacks of the first movie. But I'm going to say this. I think the middle part of the movie where it gives the backstory to Ricky, I think that stuff is all well done. I think it adds to the movie, and I love the third act, where there's no flashbacks and he's just gunning for Mother Superior. And I think all of that, flashbacks, whatever, in in the first act. I think those second two, like the last two acts, from my vantage point, I think they work. And I think they work in a way that's different than the first film. I like the fact that Ricky's trying to make right something that was wronged, especially when it comes to his brother. And he's kind of like fighting the system. And look, people can go on. You mentioned you're over the top, over the top. I'm going to tell you, part of the fun of this movie is that everybody's over the top. And when I say everybody, I mean everybody is over the top in this movie. And that's not an insult. That's not an insult. Because I was talking to Darren Ewing from Troll 2, and he said, when they have get togethers at cons, Troll 2 is known as one of the worst movies ever. And yet when they go to the cons, people are like quoting the movie and they're having fun with it. Or look at The Room, where Tommy Wiseau was my first interview guest. And The Room plays the last Saturday of every month at the Imagine Carlton Theater in Toronto. And you don't get that from being a boring movie. You get that because people, whether it's a bad movie or not, people are going in. You want me to tell you what I think a bad movie is? I think Pearl Harbor was an absolute hunk of shit. I hate that movie with a passion. They took a real life war and they turned it into uh, a love triangle. Another movie I hated was the 2019 version of Black Christmas.
yeah.
I
Oh,
love the original, but the 2019 version was in name only, and it was one of these ones where it's women against the men, and being a guy in the theater, I was like, this movie, and then I've come to find out it was made by women. They used the Black Christmas title to get people in there. Had nothing to do with the original film, which to me is a great 1970s horror film. But this one here is like, as a male, I wanted to turn to the director and writer, both females, and say, give me my friggin' money back. Because you just spent 90 minutes insulting me because I'm a white male.
right. I know, I
I
know.
hated that movie. There's movies like that She Said was another one I hate. I get the Me Too movement happen. I liked Promising Young Women, but I hated She Said because this was a whole thing about the Me Too thing. But you got scenes in that movie where I'm like, this didn't happen. Like when they're in like this movie, She Said could have been as compelling as All the President's Men, with the paranoia and stuff. But no,
Right,
they're too busy trying to cram an agenda down everybody's throat. And there was one scene in the movie that made me just turn red with rage. And it was a scene in a bar where you got a guy coming up to them and trying to pick them up. And you got the lead, I forget her name. She was a promising young woman who she was great in that, not in this. But she turns and she yells at the guy to fuck off, and whatnot. And I'm like, this didn't happen. I don't care what anybody says. This didn't happen. It was thrown in there just as a slap in the face to the male audience.
right, right,
And
right.
that's what it was. This did not happen. Stuff in the background of this movie may happen. That did not happen. I hate going to a movie and being insulted. When I watch something like Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, or The Room, or Troll 2, or Birdemic, you know, I can have fun. I can laugh at elements of it. I can have fun with those. Whereas with Pearl Harbor or the 2019, I stress it, 2019 version of Black Christmas, absolute dog shit. And or the She Said movies like that, I don't want to see. I want to shit on those movies and light them on fire under my shit. That's what I want to do with those movies.
Hey, I got a question for you, Greg. Uh,
Sure.
you got your friend Tommy Kovac, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever had done these kinds of podcasts and had another guest on, like three guests, like two guests, like it's just always two, or is it three?
Oh, I've had numerous guests on at the time
He's not
before.
asking because I've scheduled him after you to talk to him about this, and I realized we're running late, but I was wondering if you can have him on your show right now. Could you could you conjure him up to be
Actually,
on a?
you want me to tell you something? He will be up
Oh, okay.
after we're done this. Trust me. Remember, I work overnights.
Oh, I know.
There are times when I am driving home from work at 6 in the morning, and he's at the same time zone as you.
Which is
And
yeah,
he's talking
like two
to
in the
me.
morning. Right, it's 2 in the morning.
So
Yeah, no,
you,
I just thought, God, it'd be kind of cool because I'm standing him up, but I don't want to
no,
end this.
you're not.
Okay.
Just a sec. I'll text him right now. I won't have him come on because I want him to have his interview.
No, he can have his interview. I'm going to have it, but I just thought he could come on and say, "Hey, we're come on in," and then we can I say, "Hey, we're doing an interview right after." But I just thought it might be nice that I mentioned it. Not, and I don't know why I mentioned it other than
Actually, just a minute. Just a minute. Yeah, he says Tommy says he called Eric 3 times and no answer. Tommy, don't worry. He's gonna come on your show. We're still talking. He's gonna do your show. I was just tell he was worried about standing you up, and I'm like,
I
nope.
don't have my phone. I would gladly call it. My phone's in the other. It's like where I'm working at my work site, and I thought,
Yeah.
um, it might be cool to have him on the phone. But uh, I will get to that. But no, I only mentioned that because I was so long-winded earlier in this
Oh, don't worry
conversation that
about it.
I
Don't
just
worry about
dragged it on, and I shouldn't have. I should have been cognizant. I should have been aware of the time.
You know what? Tommy, a lot of times when he talks to me, like I'll be coming home from work, and like trust me, he'll be still up when we're done here. So I
All right.
only got another couple of questions. But anyway,
Oh, that's fine.
Tommy, don't worry. He's gonna come on to your show. It's just we're still talking. Stay tuned. He's active now. I'm going to send him this, and he'll be right there. Give him a toast. Say hello, Tommy. Say hello to Tommy
Hey,
on the
Tommy,
phone.
I'll be right there. No problem. Just
There
hang in
you
there.
go. There you go, Tommy. There, he'll see that.
Oh, funny.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but no, I don't. No, no problem. I was
Yeah,
glad.
he just dropped down to read that or hear that. So all will be good. I guess my other two questions were going back to Sybil Shepherd, she was the first autograph I got at Chiller. Did she remember you when you met her again?
Not initially, not at all when I was talking until I reminded her that I said I was the actor that was always watching you um, off camera. I said really I wasn't an actor, I was an extra, and but I used to watch you a lot, and you were kind enough to take my arm and pull me aside and give me some words of encouragement, which was really cool. I mean, you look at her history of being a major movie star of the day, and then moving into a television star, where all the money is. By the way, she probably made a boatload of money in moonlighting, but
I don't
that's
want to interrupt. Tommy just put a laugh emoji and he put, I figured LOL. He's wait, don't worry about it. He's good. He just gave a thumbs up, so you're good.
well, it's not kind what I did by
Oh,
being so
no,
loquacious.
don't worry. He'll be still up. You're fine. You're fine with Tommy. You're
She may have
fine
been,
with Tommy.
but Sybil Sepper may have been putting on airs. I don't think so. I think she had, when that's a long time ago to ask for someone to even remember, but I think she might have remembered. But whether she did or not, it's a cool thing to do. She didn't have to do that. And
Do you want
I
me to
met,
tell you my story with her? When I met her, she was the first one I met at Chiller. And I wanted to get her before the line got too big. And she looked stunning. I walked up to her and I grew up, I used to love, I still do slapstick comedy, And I said to Sybil Shepherd, because I seen her do this at least on a couple occasions, I said to her, as she signed in my picture, I said to her, I said, how many times in your career did you take a pie in the face? Because I always used to love that kind of humor. And she said, only once in moonlighting. And I said, didn't you do some kind of TV show or sitcom where you were holding yourself up by the hair and you had a pie in your hand, you let your face drop in it, and she stuck. And the person that was taking the selfies and stuff took multiple selfies, and there was one of them where she's got her finger stuck up, kind of a bemused look on her face, and she goes, "You're right." And it was interesting because I believe this might have been her first convention.
hmm,
And it was kind of cool to have this conversation with her about something she might not have gotten to talk about. And she and I just chatted about that for about 2 minutes. And, we did the picture, the selfie together, and she signed the picture. I had a really good experience with her. But I remember that was my interaction with Sybil, and I think she was quite surprised that I caught that, and it's like, oh yeah, I did that more than once. And yeah, it was nice to meet her. So
how cool that you reminded her of something that, it's not like the same old thing. That is so, it's just so cool. It goes back in the archives of her work and she's able to dig it up. Oh God, yeah, that's right. And so that's neat because you're not going over old territory. You're not asking this, that, or the other that she's asked 1,000 times. That one was, unique. So
hmm
good for you. Good for you.
and
Yeah.
and the other thing I wanted to ask you, you mentioned your it's sad to hear, your mom leaving and your brother kind of just didn't have your back. did you ever, did those relationships ever heal, or what, if it's too personal, you don't have to answer.
Um, Not really. My mom wanted to just get away from you know I don't know what, Minnesota, the two kids. I think she had landed a job in California. She was a nurse. A
Hmm.
nurse, actually, she was like a head nurse, like more of an administrative nurse at that point. But I think she landed something. So she had a job to go to, obviously. So it wasn't she just was driving away to go to warmer climate, but rather she had a reason to go. But to answer the answer your question to, did that we ever heal that little bit of business? Not really. I never really brought it up. Because I understood it enough to know that she wanted to start over, and I get it. She it was
Very mature of you.
well, we my parents got divorced when I was 7,
Hmm.
and and it was odd because the oddest part of that, and I'll be very brief, not because I have a tendency to be long. Um, Counselors came to a school where all the kids were. At that time, there was quite a few kids. There was Robert and Cindy and Noel and me. There was 4 kids in school, or 5 perhaps, but the 4 for sure that were in school. Counselors came to our respective schools at the time of my parents getting divorced to ask what parent we liked better. I think it's an oddest thing. I started crying because I think it was 6.5, 7, because I didn't get it. And because they were counselors from the state or whatever, they just like, well, which parent do you like better? That because they just want an answer. Why were they asking? Because they didn't know whether to stick the kids with my father or with my mother. And so what happened is my mother was kind of a loon. I mean, kind of crazy, and kind of all the kids apparently had said we like our father better. And so my dad, he was getting a divorce because he had a girlfriend on the side, a German lady named Karen, and she had kids, but he wanted to break that one off, get divorced, and then go with her. And he never thought he'd be stuck with kids. But since we all said we wanted to be with our father, all of a sudden he was appointed the children, which was unusual in those days for the father to get the kids. But all of a sudden and then he really wanted out. And so he somehow worked it out and dumped all the kids back to her. And so she was out for like out of the thinking she was going to get the kids and support and etc. She didn't get any support and she didn't get the kids, and she has started her own life again. And then when all of a sudden the time went on, one of my sisters graduated from and went into college, and so it was only 2 of us left that were young enough that could go back to her. My dad dumped us off, my brother and I, with her. And then I think she had a lot of things going on, like, okay, I'm free. And now all of a sudden she's saddled with 2 kids again. And so when I came home from school and that popped up and she said she's leaving, um, it's understood now how, like, she had her freedom, she had things going on. All of a sudden, she's got kids and she just wanted out, so she just drove away. So to I don't know why I brought that up, other than to say it was very odd, growing up like that in a family, and then no family, and but it helped that you grow up quickly. I think, looking back at it, it was good for life. It's a good life lesson. Like, all right, you're on your own. I've been the lone wolf since. I think it kind of damages you psychologically. I mean, I'm
Hmm.
sick of the lone wolf. I was saying it to my ex girlfriend because she's like a lone wolf, and I said, someday you're going to get sick of this lone wolf. I said, I am damn sick of it, because I have so much in common with her, and she's realizing she shouldn't have. She left me, or left our situation, and then kind of wants it back, if you will. and but and I said, you're going to get sick of the lone wolf thing. Trust me, I've been doing it since I was 7. So, but the point is it doesn't. You get almost like it's like jaundiced eye to it all, life in a way. But I've tried to be happy but it's not a good thing. I think if you're going to have kids, try to love them. Try to say you love them anyhow. Uh, but I think it was good for me in many ways. It said grow up or perish. So um, it was good. It gave me the strength to ask, who's got the lead in the movie. It gave me the strength to be in a business that you have no control. So it was in all, I'd say 99% good that happened.
What about
Uh,
your brother?
oh, he was very successful in real estate. He stayed in Minnesota. Um, he'd buy and sell a lot of farmhouses and a lot of things he would buy and fix up with his own hands and flip. We were both very good with our hands. My father was very good with his hands, and we kind of watched him through osmosis or maybe some genetic components, maybe, but we're very particular and meticulous. And so he would restore these farmhouses and sell them and buy and he was always cash poor, property rich, and everybody knows that if they're in that game. But then he was playing guitar and he was shoveling snow and had a heart attack and he wouldn't have died, but no one was there to find him. So he languished in the snow for an hour before they found him, and then he died. Um, so he it's been a number of years now, 10 years or so. So he died early. Um, but everybody loved Noel. Everybody. Noel was the brother that I mean he was the guy that everyone loved. And in short, um, I mean, he had a memorial I went back for, and the place there was 300 people there, and it was the middle of winter, and it was a huge hall, and people got up and talked about him and this and that. And one guy in particular, I mean, he was loved to the point that one guy said it was. I was brought to tears because one guy got up and talked and he said, Noel helped me, and he gave me a place to live during the winter, and said and he goes, I'm nobody. I go, some people just call me the town drunk. He said, this guy, and the way he said it, and I was just, I nearly busted up. I thought that was so. My brother was like that. He gave him a key to like a little ante room on the side of something he was restoring. That he said it's got a heater in there, and just lock up and don't tell anybody about it. And you can stay there. My brother gave him a place to live for the winter. And you know how cold it gets there. So
Yeah.
and it still breaks me up because the guy just, no matter who talked that day, and it was tons. My brother was a very loved man because he was just a kind, decent guy, and when he passed, it just crushed a lot of people because he was that kind of guy. He would just shirt off his back for anyone, and even someone that screwed him over in some real estate deal he stayed friends with. He would tell people about something. He goes, God, I just found a farmhouse off of a Highway 7, and and the guy I think is going to sell it. He would tell his good real estate friends about deals that he was setting up, and then his real estate friend would knife him in the back and get it. And this would go on all the time. I said, Noel, you're playing poker with people that are reading your cards. And he goes, yeah, well, someday they won't do that to me. And he would like, and I say, you can't be like that. Just don't show him your cards. And he would, but he was loved. And the point is he turned out our situation did two things that made me angry and like slash out at the world. My brother, he went internal and got very sensitive. We're both very sensitive people, but he went the other way. Bad upbringing and bad parenting and bad this and that and just bad life and all the beatings we took from our old man. It He went insular and got sensitive and was kind to everybody. And I was like the last youngest, I was like rageful. So I was like Caldwell in a way, but we went different ways personality wise because of that situation. So he was a very good man, and it was just unfortunate that what happened to him because he was loved, and I was just like his little brother. But um, you can learn a lot from that. It's be kind to people. My brother was enormously kind to people. I mean, he saved like bums from freezing all winter, or drunks in this case. But he was that kind of guy where if someone would come show up at a memorial and say what a good, decent guy he was, and how, if it weren't for him. And so no, I guess it's all good. I guess um, it's good to have a brother like that.
Hmm.
And I just thought he would. He knew how young I was when all this went down. I thought for sure he'd be, you know, kind of looking out for me. But I got into selling pot and continuing through high school. I sold a lot of pot. I used to buy tons of pot and sell bags of pot, and so I sold drugs, but it was basically pot. Nowadays we don't think anything of it. But back then it was a certain jail, and but I did that to get through school and all that. But I was a business guy, and I wasn't selling. I was always selling something. So but that's what we did. We both sold pot to get by, and we both made our way, and then eventually got respectable. But a very interesting little lives. And my life is probably a number of books, but all very like, whoa, this happened. But uh, you do what you have to do. But I hope that modern man today, young men, they seem like we're very soft individuals. They find out that the stress to them is like misplacing their phone. So to me, it's like how am I gonna put gas in my car? But very
But look,
interesting little
look
life.
where it led. Look where it led, though. I mean, you get all these skills. Like you're very self-sufficient. You paint. You do a lot of stuff with your hands. You uh, uh, repair and make guitars. Obviously, you're doing other stuff too. You mentioned saws and stuff like that. So you're very self-sufficient, more so than what I am. So, I mean,
Well, I've never known a Canadian not to be very good with all, because you have to be that you've got the elements. But I appreciate your kindness there. Yeah,
mhm,
yeah. If it can be anything in the construction world, I can do it. And
mhm.
and cars, I can do it. I can fix anything, looking at it. If I stare at it, I'll fix it. But and then there's people that I envy, like, wow, how does he know that? How does he? And I'm always in awe of engineers and people that could just, how'd you build the first toaster? How'd you do that? I mean, Edison and the light, and look where we are today because of the greats. And I'm nothing. I'm just standing on a little bit of a shoulder of some great person somewhere along the way. So, um, but I appreciate your kindness on that. I'm just this little nothing that made a little thing, and people seem to like it, and 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 here we are. I didn't mean to be negative or any of that during all this, but um, I think hard times make good people, and then we know who had it tough. The people out of World War I, World War II,
Mhm.
um, people that defend our nation, and I mean hard times, man. I mean those, where you just put it all on the line and you move your whole family out west just for a better life, and you go to war and you come back and maybe with a missing limb or something, or with psychological issues. I mean, geez, we owe a lot of people that are long dead a big debt, and
Mhm.
I'm a lucky guy. I'm a lucky guy, and I mean, you're interviewing me and we're talking, and I mean, I've never, like I said, I've never known guys like you, Canadians, and people that are in harsh elements that don't know a hell of a lot about a hell of a lot. You have to. I mean, that's one thing. I grew up in those harsh winters. I know, you know, standard thing was to shovel your way out every morning so you can get your car out of the driveway or whatever. It didn't matter. It was like, will my car start? Did you plug in your car the night before? Did you do this? Did you do that? Or whatever it takes to make, it's a harder life and when it's 20, 30, 40 below. So I get that fully. And but I'm happy that we discussed I talked a lot, but I just wanted to throw
We
out some
want.
on
Did you
my
get to
mind.
do any did you get to do any conventions this year?
Yeah, I did a couple, a few of them this year, and then there's a two or three this next year, which is in a few days. But yeah, I've got some stuff going on in Michigan coming up in Ann Arbor, something a small thing in Pittsburgh. I
Hmm.
think that's called the Horror Realm or something. And something else was just asked. Two of them just popped up that I have to agree to. Same promoter, one in Kansas City, one in Minnesota, which would be nice. I haven't been back there in ages. I
I'll
forgot the
try to
date.
get you at Frightmare in the Falls.
Oh God, yes, I want to go that one.
Yeah.
That's the B up there. But yeah, no, it's all look, and there's nobody more generous and decent than the horror fan. I mean,
Hmm.
as far as fans go, I mean, these guys are very forgiving. They let people age and not really look the same, but they're still very happy to see or whatever. And nobody's cooler than the horror fan. They're the ultimate fan. So
Well, hopefully I'll be able to get Robert Brian Johnson on here, or excuse,
Wilson.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Wilson. Brian
Oh, I'm
Johnson. I was thinking
surprised.
of it. I was thinking about the ACDC guy. No, I was thinking gotta get Robert Brian Wilson on here eventually, But nonetheless, we gotta close this off so that because I know Tommy's waiting for you and you'll have a great time with him. But it was wonderful having you come on here. Merry Christmas to you. Happy New Year. It was wonderful having you come on here and chat. We got a lot in common. And but I was going to say before I let you go, I'd love a plug for my show.
Oh, I've done that before too. I remember. What's
Hmm.
the you gotta give
Just
me the gist.
just say your name and say you're listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Uh, all right.
Go
Okay.
for it.
Hey, it's Eric Freeman, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, and I'm host. Well, what's the right word? It's Greg Gilbert and Python's Paradise because I'll do
Yep.
it over again. Sorry. So, all right. It's Eric Freeman, Silent Night, Deadly Night 2. You know who I am, Ricky Caldwell, and you should be watching Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Yes, folks. Remember, folks, Christmas might be over, but every day is garbage day. Yeah, just look at the political situation. You'll know what we're talking
Uh,
about. But we won't get into that in detail. But nonetheless, folks, um, go see Eric Freeman anytime that he's at the conventions. I've met him once in person, and I was happy to have you come on here for a second time. So, yeah, this was a delight.
well, I killed you with all my long talking, but thanks for letting me
Well,
talk.
people want to hear you, not me. If it's all me, people aren't going to like it. People want to hear you,
Well, you've
you
got
know?
interesting questions, and I should have shut up, but I do thank you. And if there's ever a chance in the future, I'm going to keep my answers brief and have you pepper me with questions. So,
You know what? There's no harm, no foul tonight.
all
So,
right.
yeah.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for letting me talk and talk and talk. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you get to Tommy Kovac because I know you'll have a great time with him. But in the meantime, God bless you and keep doing what you're doing.
Okay, it's a deal.
Absolutely. You take care,
Thanks.
man.
Bye.
Bye bye.